Thank you for coming. I'm presenting my research paper and speech about career in broadcasting, specifically get to the NHL. It was pretty hard to research how to get a job in the NHL, that specific thing, using scholarly journals and data sources and all of that. So I researched general announcing jobs and also asked, in this day and age of streaming, what is radio's future? Will there be radio jobs in the future for not only sports broadcasting, but in general, will there be announcing jobs? Personally, this is all I've wanted to do since I was 8 years old. Wanted to make it to the NHL. I grew up in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and we were lucky. We had guys like Al Shaver, who was on the cover of the North Stars magazine. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. One of the great broadcasters of all time, obviously. Herb Carneal was the play-by-play voice of the Minnesota Twins. He is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. One of these guys that was just synonymous with the team. Bob Kurtz and Tom Reed, they currently do the Minnesota Wild, but when I was a kid, Bob Kurtz and Tom Reed did the North Stars on television, and Bob Kurtz also did Twins baseball on television. So they were guys that I really, really enjoyed. I was really fortunate that when looking for a job, specifically in the National Hockey League, you got to realize that it's a rather exclusive club. There's only 31 teams in the National Hockey League. About 23 players on a roster. That's about 700 jobs in the NHL. There's about 5 coaches on average per team. It's 155 jobs. There's maybe 2 play-by-play announcers for each team. There's 62 jobs, but even then, it's not necessarily the case. 1 for TV, 1 for radio. A lot of teams, I shouldn't say a lot, a few teams simulcast their broadcasts, meaning that the radio broadcast is the same as the television broadcast. It saves money. In some cases, it gets the more popular group out there. 3 teams currently in the National Hockey League simulcast. Carolina Hurricanes just got rid of their longtime radio broadcaster, Chuck Caton. They decided that the technology has changed so much that they're just going to simulcast with their television guy, John Forsland, who is an excellent broadcaster. You also have the Buffalo Sabres with Hall of Famer Rick Jeanneret doing a simulcast. And the Dallas Stars for years had Ralph Strangis and Darryl Ray. Ray is a former Milwaukee Admiral, actually, and wildly popular, a very humorous, funny guy who really gained an audience. So Dallas not only saves some money by employing the 2 guys only, but they also get their most popular guy out there and make it kind of a destination to get to. Simulcasting is a strange thing because you can do too much for TV by broadcasting, but you need to do that for radio. You need to explain things better on radio to give you that theater of the mind experience, where on television you can sit back because the assumption is people are watching, so I don't need to say left and right and far and near and all of that over and over again, because you can clearly see where the puck is or where the action is during those times. The job outlook, there's maybe 2 more jobs coming in the near future. Earlier this week, Seattle, the city of Seattle, made its pitch to the National Hockey League, and it sounds like it's a go. So Seattle will get an NHL team likely in the 2020 or 21 season once they make improvements to their rink, to their arena. So they will hopefully have 2 more jobs for a bunch of people who are interested in applying. It's great to have all those jobs, but well, I shouldn't say all those jobs, at the most 62. But the question is, will there even be that many in a few years? Some experts think that over-the-air radio stations are going to kind of disappear, or they will be simulcast. So what you hear on an FM station will be heard on the AM station, and so on and so on. Some experts think that in the next 10 years, we won't have half the radio stations that we have, terrestrial radio stations, unless changes are made. One thing with FM radio is certainly clearer than the AM radio signal, but AM radio is getting helped by apps, by internet broadcasts. It's giving you the same clarity as an FM station. HD radio stations are helping the AM signal get through. So you end up with a clearer signal, obviously, a more attractive signal for people who are listening, and hopefully that means people will continue to listen to the radio in their car. cars are coming out, excuse me, with the access, the ability to stream. The internet can be in your car, obviously now. So as younger people are growing and they're getting used to playing those on the apps or whatever, listening on the apps, hopefully in their cars that'll translate into radio listenership. Currently for people between 15 and 19 years old, more than half of those people, their daily listening is on-demand streaming accounts. So there is, in the not too distant future, radio could be in trouble, but sports radio excuse me, seems to be a destination. Sports radio in particular is driven by advertising, not by listeners. So your ratings don't necessarily matter, but they do at the same time. If you can get a good percentage of an audience between a certain age, that's more attractive to advertisers. You bring in money, you can pay your people, everything should run smoothly. Your radio station will be vibrant and successful. That's not necessarily always the case. There's not a ton of radio stations that are rolling in the money right now. But that being said, the radio stations do get value out of it. Sports broadcasts can command up to 4 times ad revenue because the audiences listen longer. You're locked in for that 2.5 to 4 hour stretch of time because you want to hear what's going on, you want to hear the end of the game, the conclusion, all of that. And those people between the ages of 25 and 54, they have the spending money, so advertisers like that. You can go to a sponsor, say Quick Trip, and say, you know what, for 4 hours I have a captive audience, we can play your commercial 3 times. Somebody's going to be excited about that and be willing to step up and pay. So it's, so long as the advertising money is there, radio should be fine. The outlook for jobs, or to get to that next level, the U.S. Department of Labor says experienced, formally training announcers should have the best job prospects. Working in a situation like this, that gives you the experience. Internships, starting at a lower level, unfortunately many times you have to, but I shouldn't say unfortunately because we all want to get somewhere, but you always have to work your way up. So getting that experience, building that experience is obviously a huge thing to get to the next level. One of the things with broadcasting, the reasons to become a broadcaster, so there's a lot of reasons. One, when I was young, I was fascinated by the fact that these people describing can watch sports for a living. I thought, wow, this is fantastic. You can watch sports for a living, you don't have to, it's not work, it's fantastic. You learn that that's not necessarily the case as you go along, but it still is pretty awesome. There's certainly worse things to do with your life than watch a game for 3 hours a night. Key number 2 is travel. You get the opportunity to see the world. There are a lot of great places to go, a lot of great things to see. The people you meet, not only the people you work with, but you get the chance to, for me specifically, I never thought that, growing up in the Cold War era, I never thought that I would know a Russian, let alone be friendly with a Russian. And it has turned out to be nice. One of my first seasons with a Russian player on the team and getting to know him and learning how his life was on a day-to-day basis. There was an athlete from Romania that we knew that who told me that his first memory of watching television was watching the leader of Romania being killed by his people. There are a lot of cool experiences that you get when you become a broadcaster, and these are some of them. Obviously, 3 of the big ones in my mind. The skills you need. There's a website, ONET, that explains kind of what you can expect in this field, what kind of skills would help you in this field. Oral expression, clearly. Speech clarity, most of these are self-explanatory. Originality, memorization, and speed of closure. These are just a few of the many qualities that this website points out. Speed of closure, though, is one that I really want to hit on. The ability to quickly make sense of, combine, and organize information into meaningful patterns. The broadcasting on radio, theater of the mind, you want to get that picture out as quickly as possible. We can take a snapshot, we can watch it on TV, we can see what's happening, but to get that picture transferred, to communicate on that model from the sender to the receiver and get it through a channel that is clear so the receiver can fully comprehend and understand what that sender is indeed sending. That's an important thing. So speed of closure, in my mind, is the really big thing. In closing, radio is fun. This has been fun. I have learned a little bit about the situation, but what this process has mostly done for me is reminded me and fortified some reasons why I wanted to do this, and reminded me of what I need to do to actually get to the next step. So I look forward to it, and I thank you for your attention.